work it, make it, do it. Makes us harder, better, faster, stronger, more than power, never, ever, after, work it, over, work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger, more than ever, power, after, work it, never, over, work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger, more than ever, after, work it, never.
You have to force it open.
Check. Mic check. Ottawa racing. Yes indeed, yes indeed, yes indeed. This is Abiertos. I'm the voice of power, MC Bacon, alongside host DJ Mendez. I'm gonna take a seat right here.
Take a seat right there.
Yes, sir. So we're gonna have a good special one this evening, or on this beautiful day today. Big shouts to everybody here on this special day today. We're gonna start off with our interview here with the one and only Aaron Buros, the running servant. Pleasure to be in your presence, my brother.
Thank you, Bacon. I want to thank everybody that came by my booth next to the stage and talked to me. Got an autographed copy of my book, gave me inspiration, especially those who are back again from last year. Thank you for stopping by, telling me what my book meant to you, telling me what a talk meant to you last year. Shout out to those that was pacing with me last year on the half, the Walker pace, that I got inspired. I had a couple of people, they moved up to the marathon, or they moved up to running the half this year. So shout out to the ladies and the guys that are doing that today. Or
yes.
Tomorrow, I mean.
Yes, for sure, that's exceptional. So what I want to, really just get into the real nitty-gritty of it and stuff like that, because you've been inspiring people all your life, with the unfortunate things that's happened to you. Let the people know, people who are listening, as they're walking, what is it you've actually been through to get to this point where you are right now?
Been through a lot. The main thing with the running is getting to deal with the mental health issues that came along with me running. When I first started running, I did it to lose weight. My doctor, when I turned 40, I went and had my prostate checked, which was a very fearful thing as a man. I think you think more about it than it really was warranted. But I remember on my 39th birthday, I ended up going to the doctor office to make an appointment for my 40th birthday a year in advance because I was scared of that prostate thing. unfortunately for me and my family on my dad's side, I've had uncles die from prostate. I got an uncle right now, my Uncle Al, that's dying from prostate cancer right now. So it's very important for me to get checked out. During my 40th visit, I asked the doctor out there, everything got checked. Was there anything for me to be concerned about? And he said, no, there wasn't. I was relieved, but he did tell me I needed to lose 40 pounds or is it gonna lose me? Well, I've been going to my same doctor since I was in 6th grade. I'm 54 now. So I've been going to my same doctors. You know, when you find something that works, a doctor, a mechanic, somebody to do your taxes and you're still not getting audited or thrown in jail, stick with them. Don't go find something new. You'll leave more money. You leave shore money for more money and end up with no money. So my doctor and I go back and forth. He tells me I need to lose 40 pounds or it's gonna lose me. I tell my doctor I don't have time to lose 40 pounds. I'm working, you know, I got my own company I'm working. I'm going to school full time. I got 5 kids. I had to lose weight another time. My doctor told me that if I didn't lose the weight, that I was gonna basically be out of time. And I said, well, that sounds pretty well, you know, okay. So I go back and I come back at him. I said, well, how much weight do you think I'll lose when I die? And he was like, touche. He said, well, how much? He said, when I said, how much weight do you think I'll lose when I die? He asked me a question, how soon do you want to die? And I didn't have a comeback for that. So I struggled to lose the weight right away, but I did lose 40 pounds in 2 months. And then that first year, I ended up losing 100 pounds. But even though I lost the weight, I did not lose the mentality with the weight. In other words, the weight was a symptom of my life, my mental health and my well-being that I would later have to come to grips with because I was an emotional eater. So when I was stressed, I would eat. So you can imagine every night I'm stressed because I got my own business, I got 5 kids, I'm ripping and running, I'm going to school full time. And so every night my dessert looked like Bluebell ice cream, king size M&Ms, and I washed it down with Cold Red, and Mountain Dew Cold Red. So that's why I gained the weight. That was just my cover up. But I still wasn't dealing with the mental aspect of why was I an emotional eater. And I would have to come and deal with that eventually. And then dealing with that, it just spurred me on to get more and more into running. And I was covering everything up with running. So I wasn't eating unhealthy like I was. So I went from one addiction to another addiction. Now I know most people will look at you and say, well, man, you lost 178 pounds. You know, you running still, you exercising, leave the dude alone, give him a break. But I knew within myself, running became my new cover-up. Running became my new addiction. So even though I was like running, and I talked to so many, well, let me not say so many. I talked to a few men yesterday, and I heard it while I was sitting around. People said that they were running from their problems, running from their stresses, running from this, running from that. When people was asking them, why do they run? I was doing the same thing. But I would later have to come and confront the demons in my closet. I would later have to come to confront the dragons, the elephants in my room that nobody else knew about as to why I was running. I got to the point where I had people telling me that I should run on the professional level. I was trail running. I was pacing marathons just for conditioning. People ask me, what was your PR for your marathon? I don't know. I never did a PR for a marathon because that wasn't my thing. I didn't even know about marathoning like that. But I was pacing 2:55 up to 4:10 for the marathons. And so it would so happen that as soon as I went to take a step, I secured a professional running coach, and I planned on a run, trail running over Texas, Brazos Bend 100. And I was going to go out there and compete with some professional runners on a 50-miler. And I planned on beating them. However, 2 weeks before the benchmark run to set my professional running career in order, I went through a workplace shooting. I saved several of my coworkers' lives, but I myself got shot several times. Although I was shot several times, I had one bullet miss my femoral artery by a centimeter. But the other bullet that became a tremendous problem for me, I carry around with me today. It's stuck in my gluteus maximus. So as I confronted this situation, and now my cover-up was being uncovered because I couldn't run like I used to run. And my running went on a decline. So no longer was I doing long runs of 30 or 40 miles. I was barely walking a half a mile. And so now I'm confronted with what do I do with the reason why I was the weight that I was. What do I do with the reason why I was running like I was running when I can't run no more? Do I go back to Bluebell? Do I go back to M&M's? Do I go back to Code Red? Or do I find a new cover-up? Do I find a new vice? Do I find a new addiction? That's when the real race started for me in my life. 5 years after running, 5 years after losing 178 pounds, 5 years after being 219, which I wasn't 219. The last time I was 219 was when I was in middle school in 8th grade. I was a mean, lean running machine. I was running technical trails. I did a practice run on a technical trail, 7-minute miles for 40 miles. I was a beast at it. I didn't know it. People thought I was an excellent runner. They just didn't know I was running. I was running from my past. I was running from my problems. I was running from trials and tribulations. I was running because I didn't want to face what I had left behind. The elephant in the room. The skeleton in the closet. And the dragons that were out there to kill me. All up in my own head. My mental health and well-being. So finally, instead of getting another addiction, I decided to confront the demons, to slay the dragons, to eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Come on. It's one of those things where just hearing that, I can feel the pain and the fact that you're able to look over that. You're looking to see where everything stems from. But what made you think of taking care of your coworkers as everything was happening? Like what can you recall of that in that moment, as if you were when you were saving someone, not knowing what was next?
I don't think it was a split decision. I think it was a decision that I had made years ago, back in 1996, when the Lord saved me, redeemed me, set me free from a sinful lifestyle. I came from one of the biggest drug dealing families in the United States. So I was I was what I would call back in the day a young money hustler. I got money any which way. I was in the music, fashion, and film business. Whichever way there was to make money, that's what I was doing. But when I left that alone and I realized money don't make the man make the money, when I realized that name brand clothing don't define who I am, when I realized that having a fly ride with rims on it didn't determine my manhood or my identity, that's when I think the decision was made. So when I heard the cry aloud on the speaker of my boss asking for help in a certain part of the building, I responded because I didn't know what was going on. So I responded by leaving the part of the building that I was on, and I went across the parking lot to go into another part of the building. But as I was going in that building, about 15 to 17 males came out, and there was a huge fight going on. This wasn't a fight like they were scrapping. I knew immediately they were fighting for their lives. They were fighting to survive just because of the wrestling that was going on. It really wasn't punches being thrown. It was people trying to subdue, trying to take down some people. And I didn't even know who, because at that point in time, it was late at night, it was raining, our parking lot lights, they were very dim, so there wasn't a whole lot of light. All I knew is that there was this battle royale going on and that people were fighting for their lives. And then I heard one person tell another person to go get the tool and put in work. Now, although I was in corporate America at the time, I used to be a streetwise pharmaceutical sales representative. You'll get that later when you watch this on repeat. So I knew it wasn't a good thing about this particular person going to get the tool and put in work. So as I ran towards them to tell people to get inside the building, to get to safety, I knew I had a limited time to make it happen. Then all of a sudden, as the guy came back and started shooting, everybody started running. And then at that point, there was only 3 people left, a security guard and 2 other employees trying to take down another person. And in that time, I ended up taking the matters into my own hands. I ended up putting myself at risk so that my coworkers can get away. Because for me, I was told later on by a detective, I don't remember this, but he said that when people was thanking me, that I told them that if I had died, I was going to go to heaven to be with Jesus. But if they had died, they didn't know the Lord, and I didn't want them to die. So that's what happened with that situation. But even before then, it was all the running that I experienced. And I know the runners can connect with me on this, especially those who train for long runs, especially the ultra marathoners, is that there's a communion take place between you and God when you're on those long runs. When you're out there, you feel the breath of nature. You feel a oneness with creation that you just have no idea about. And I remember in the movie Chariots of Fire, when they asked him, why do you run so much? And he said, when I run, I feel the presence of God. And so in knowing that and experiencing that, I was faced with either lay my life down for my friend, or I could have just stayed in safety. I could have hid and been okay. But then I couldn't live with my own conscience at that point.
Wow. So was fear a factor for you, or was fear a motivator for you?
Fear was a paralyzer. Fear will paralyze you. And that moment, when I made that decision, it had nothing to do with me, but it had to do with the Spirit through me. No greater love than a man has this, that he's willing to lay his life down for his friend. And even though I was a supervisor at work, and a lot of people can relate to, if you're in a position where you're the supervisor and you're not the head honcho, you become a lamb so many times because you get blamed for so much and people blame you for so much. So I wasn't liked by my coworkers. I wasn't really liked by my peers. But in that time, in that point, it wasn't about whether they liked me. It was about whether I loved them. I tell people all the time, and I had a shirt on, and if you walking by the stage, look at it real quick. It says, live generously. When I have my books, I don't charge a price for my books. I tell people to give from their heart what they want to give me. And the reason I do that is because I found out a secret to life. Everybody running around talking about they want to be happy. But what they want is the product. They don't want the responsibility to live generously. See, when you talk about living generously, you're literally talking about a principle that I learned in the running community while I was going through what I went through and fighting to get my life back. I had a community of running people come around me. I had received emails and calls from race directors, from organizational leaders, just inviting me to their races. Don't worry about paying for anything. Just come. We heard your story. We heard what happened to you. And it was that generosity that freed me up. And I know as a runner, I tell people this because people often ask, when did I do my first marathon? I said, I did my first marathon when I didn't know what a marathon was. I did it running in the trail. So when somebody asked me to sign up for a marathon, I asked them, I said, well, what's a marathon? They told me 26.2. I said, I ran that the other day. I said, I do about 30 miles for my long runs right now. And so they was like, well, do a 50K. I said, well, what's a 50K? They said 31.7. I said, well, I know I can do that. I said, well, what's after that? They told me a 50 miler. I didn't know if I could do that or not. But I said to myself, I remember when I couldn't barely walk 15-minute miles at almost 15 minutes, walk, not a mile, but walk for 15 minutes, weighing almost 400 pounds. And I said to myself, I remember that. I remember when I couldn't even run a half an hour and a half. And now I'm running 4 to 5 hours at a time. I said, I can get there as long as I can get there. And so I started practicing to do the 50 milers. And for me, as I learned about running that distance, when I did my first 36-mile run, I realized something. That after that 30-mile run, that my body recycled. And it was like I was running from the start again. The reason I say that about generosity is because the more you give, the more you go of your time, your talent, your treasure, the more you benefit from the community that you're given to. I was running and serving in the race community, pacing, marathons. I was running and serving, volunteering at Pack and Pickup, putting packets together. I remember I used to sign up and go for races to pace, and I show up and help them put stuff up. And they was like, aren't you pacing later? I was like, yeah, but y'all need help now. And so that same community that I had given so much to gave so much back to me. Now, there's a lot of newbies here, and I say newbies because I met them. They came up to me. Shout out to the first timers. If you're a first-time marathon runner, half marathon runner, 5K, 10K, whatever it is, your first time, put your hand up in the air. Somebody else pat them on the back and congratulate them. The reason I say that is this, because I challenge my friends that run in my community in Houston. You've been running a long time, but you never volunteer. You never volunteer. When are you going to start giving back to the community that has given you so much? Because it takes a lot to put a race on. And just like this race, it takes a lot for you to live your life. You may run solo, but never, ever believe that any of your races are ran solo. There's so many people behind the scenes, so much go into putting on a race, so much go on to allow you to run your course. But that's what I found out about life when I did my 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 weeks. I found out that it took more for me to get where I needed to go than I could offer. It took a community. It took people that believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. It took people that hoped for me when I didn't have hope for myself. And that's why I love the fact that we have the extra mile runners here, because some of y'all will be at mile 12, going to 13, or mile 24, going to 26. And you're going to be out of gusto, out of gas. And you're going to want to give up this close to the finish. But at the extra mile, people are going to be there to cheer you on, to run in with you, to talk you in. And whatever you learn in marathon running, I've learned in life. The way that I dealt with my mental health and well-being is the same way I prepared for my ultra marathons. Although I had to do a lot of work alone, it took a community. It took a community. And there's a lot of people I know that are running, and you're running away from something. Well, I'm telling you today that at some point, sometime, when this running game is over, listen to me, because I wish my legs would get tired. I wish I would complain about my feet hurting instead of this bullet in my glute. When I hit 10 miles of running, the pain in me is so extreme it makes me want to punch my mama in the throat. I wish I could get to that place where I could complain about a cramp in my leg. I'm telling you, I would love to have that again. I would love to have that experience again, but I can't, and I probably won't, because my leg is getting weaker and weaker. Every year it gets weaker and weaker, and I can't run like I used to run. I went from running ultras to running marathons, from marathons to half marathons, from half marathons to 10Ks. And believe you me, I enjoy it because I'm out there cheering everybody on. But what I'm saying to you is that one day, God forbid, something's going to happen and you're not going to have running for your cover-up anymore. And all I'm saying is, deal with your mental health and well-being. Don't run from the elephant in the room. Eat it at one bite at a time. Get some help. Get a community. Get people that believe in you. Get some mental health help. Slay your dragons that's out there in your life trying to destroy you. Deal with the skeleton in your closet, because the day will come where it's all going to go away because of running. You won't have any more vices, and you're going to have to make a decision. Get a new addiction or deal with the dragons. And when I'm telling people and running for your mental health, is deal with them now while you have the power of running in your life, while you have a community in your life, while you have people who care in your life, people who are championing you. That's what I'm asking, because I know I know the running community is phenomenal. And if you just reach out, if you got my book, if you don't have it, I'm the running servant, at the running servant on Instagram. I tell people all the time, I'll take a plane, a train, a bus. I don't care where you are around the globe. I will come and sit and talk with you if you need that help. Because I know when I was there, I didn't have that help. And the world had shut down because of COVID. It was like I had to do this on my own for a moment. But I was never on my own. I had my faith in God, and I had a family that I didn't even know exists. And during COVID, I found that family from the East Coast to the West Coast, from Canada down to Texas, from over in the pond to Japan, to Africa, to China. Running is a universal language. And I just want you to speak it clearer. I want you to run stronger. I want you to dig deeper. I want you to reach higher. I want you to go further than you ever thought you could go. Not only in this sport of running, but in your personal life, in your public life, in your professional life, and with your physical health. I just want you to run for your mental health and well-being.
Yes, indeed. Round of applause for that, ladies and gentlemen. With your book that you have a lot of people taking in and reading, what inspired you to write this book here, Metal Monday? What was your inspiration?
I didn't write Metal Monday. Metal Monday wrote me. And that's just not a phrase or a slogan that I say. I did not set off to write a book. I set off from a deep depression, from dealing with suicidal thoughts, from not wanting to live, afraid to be around people, embarrassed to cry because I had crying spells that were uncontrollable. And all I was trying to do was get out every day, brush my teeth, and start it all over the next day. So when I went on this quest, with just me. But I met this guy named Dr. Roy Murfield at a hot chocolate race in Tampa, Florida, and I paced the 15K for them. He said, never have I ever had a pacer that made racing so fun. He said, we was at the last mile before I even realized it. He asked for my information, and I gave it to him, and he kept in touch with me. So I went on this quest on my own, and I would post stuff on social media to keep myself accountable. And one day he called me, he said, what's this quest that you're doing to run 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 weeks? And I explained it to him. This man, as I went and ran this quest, and the quest broke me. I got invited on interviews. I talked to somebody else today that seen me on an interview that was here on Canada Broadcasting Television. I don't know what it's called, CBS or something like that, CBC. Yeah, and she was telling me, and I was like, probably so, because I've had it from around the globe wherever I've gone. But this man went and did the work, researched, listened to these interviews, read the blogs, listened to the podcast, read the article on Runner's World online, and he put my story together in my voice. And when I completed my quest, when my quest was over and I could literally feel like I could think that I could think. I don't know if you ever been so depressed to where you get to the point where you think you can think. That's where I was. He called me, he said, I emailed you, check your email. I checked my email. I opened it up, and there was a transcript, almost 500 pages long. I asked him, I said, how much do I owe you? He said, nothing. He said, you need to tell your story. Then I had another friend of mine do the cover. I explained to him in the email what I was envisioning in my mind, not being an artist myself. The first time he sent it to me, it was exactly how I envisioned it. This book right here, Metal Monday, you can get it from Amazon. You can order it in the language that you speak. But this is a gift of grace. I don't charge for it because I can't put a price on what God did for me in my life. I can't put a price on what the running community has done for me in my life. I can't put a price on what race directors and run companies and the Road Runners Club of America has done for me in my life. I can't put a price on what Mark, that's over the Pacers here. The only reason I'm really here, Mark invited me up here to Pace, and it took so long for me to come. One door shut after another. And then I got up here, and I had Patrick and Todd and them asking me if I could speak. And I just spoke the first time, and they had me back, and I spoke again. They had me back, and I'm speaking again. But I can't put a price on this. I will tell you, you can get it for $20 on Amazon, but Amazon won't help you live generously because some people can give more than others. There's a lot of charitable organizations around here that are looking for charity donations. If you look within your heart and you put yourself in that situation, like when they talked about having to walk to go get all that water, when they're talking about not eating or drinking because you got to use the restroom and you don't want to have to use the restroom because there's no public toilets anywhere. When I ran for St. Jude, I was raising $50,000 for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital because I had lost hope in humanity. And I said to myself, if I ever want to gain hope back in humanity, I'm going to have to either focus on children or the elderly. Because people like me and you meant nothing to me after what I went through. When I ran on that campus at the Memphis Marathon for St. Jude, it was during COVID. So they didn't have all the children out, but there were a few children out. And I looked and I considered their struggle. And I thought about what they were going through with cancer. I thought about what they were going through with a brain tumor. And even though I had the pain in my glute, and I can say, oh, I need to take a break. Do you know those kids can't take a break from that pain, from that struggle, from those tumors, from those childhood diseases? So I made a promise to myself. I don't care how much pain I'm in, whatever it takes, I'm gonna at least finish a half a marathon if I can't go anymore. I remember I was running Chicago, and I was in so much pain that my body started convulsing. I was running at mile 20 pacing, and I fell flat on my face like somebody dropped the book. And I had 6 men have to carry me off the course. My body was contorting, and it looked like I was turning into the Incredible Hulk. That's how much pain I was in. And so I said to myself, I gotta think about others. But that starts in your heart. That starts in my heart. And plus, the other thing I found out, living generously. You want to know who are really happy people? Find somebody that's living generously. And they're very happy people. They're not talking about not being with somebody because they're not happy. They're talking about being with themselves because they're generous in who they are from a sincere heart. That's why the heart is here. And that's what the running community has meant to me. And I know that's what it means to you. And I'm just asking, be a little more generous, make a little more sacrifices. Because if it all get taken away today, believe you me, when I was down on that ground, and I was laying there like this, with my hands up, And I was telling that guy with that rifle, man, just go on your way. Go on your way. Everything okay, you can hear the police coming, man, y'all just leave. I was like this, and the guy was like, still gonna kill me. And I considered to myself, God, I guess this is what it feels like when somebody murders you. And I'm laying there, and I conceded that day I was gonna be murdered. But I tell you what I was thinking about. I was thinking about my 401k. I was thinking about my stock options and the dividends I had. I was thinking about my next promotion. And if you believe that, you need the heart change that I'm talking about. I was thinking about my kids. I was thinking about my family. Who's going to tell them? Who's going to be there for them? Who's going to help them? And I tell you, right then and there, God told me to roll over, and the guy shot, and it missed me. And then he told me to hop to my feet and run, and I did. And the guy chased me, shot me 4 times in the back. One of the bullets came out, missed my femoral artery by 1 centimeter. When I got to the hospital, they were examining me, and the nurse, he put his hand up like this, and he had the bullet in his hand because it was sticking out of my thigh, my inner thigh. And I remember when the detective came, and the detective said, I heard you were a runner. That was his first statement to me. And I'm thinking to myself, what that got to do with the price of cornbread right now? He said, man, he said, I tell you what, your coworkers told me you used to be about 400 pounds. I said, yeah. He said, man, he said, you know what? If you would have still been 400 pounds, there's no way you would have hopped to your feet and ran like you did. Running had saved my life for a second time. The first time is when I needed to lose the weight. The third time is when I needed to get my life back. And I'm getting my life back. And that's the Medal Monday. But I tell you what, I'm not gonna stop running. I just got a new race. You're my race. She's my race. They're my race. The running community is my race. That's why I tell people I come to run and serve the global running community. I'm here for you. If you need me, I'm here. Let me know.
Wow. I'm just honored to be in your presence right now. You have no idea. But just touching on your Medal Monday book, it seems like fundraising is something that's very important to you. Give us a solid reason why that people should come and hear you and hear your story and what they can take from that in regards to how you're living your life, what you've gone through, and how you keep going in the positive, living generously as you do.
One, it helped me get my hope back in humanity. I remember my doctor telling me, he said, well, don't you think you're trustworthy? And I remember looking at my psychologist and I told him, I don't even trust myself. I looked him dead in the eye. I said, I really don't even know if I'm sitting here talking to you or I'm hallucinating. That's how far gone I was. But I knew children got something special in their eye. If you look at children and you look at animals, they run away from evil, mean-hearted, cold-hearted people. Automatically, there's something innocent about them. And for me, I knew that if that connection were ever to come back to me, I would no longer have that hatred in my heart that I was having for humanity. So giving to me set me free. It healed me, and it is healing me. With the running community, it's the same thing about the race course. Unfortunately for us in our lives, we don't get a race review. I sat over here while 3 runners came in and they looked at the screen over there and they said, man, we missed the course review. They're not going to have any more. We're not going to understand the course that we're running. Well, even in a marathon, you can know the course, but you still got to run it. And it has its ups and downs. It has its challenges. It has its potholes. It may even have detours and some puddles. But you still got to run your race. Your pace, your race. We'll flip that around and put that in your personal life. Flip that around and put that in your marriage. Flip that around, put that in your business. Flip that around, put that in your career. Flip that around and put that in your church, your synagogue, your mosque. Flip that around and put that in you running city government. By the way, I want to give shout outs to the mayor. He remembered me from last year. I was so happy. But flip that around. And you got to have that same mentality to attack life. Now flip that around and use that same mentality to slay your dragons, to get your mental, your emotional, your physical, your spiritual health together. Because if you're going to run for anything, running for your mental health and well-being, you become your own medal.
What does swift running mean to you?
Swift running is another opportunity for me to serve my running community. I came across them and I heard the lady Pooja, she told me the story of why she started Swift running. She said shoes were getting too high. They have a passion for getting children running, cross country and everything else, so they sponsor stuff and they train people. And they noticed that there was a decline in family participation. And she said when they asked people why they wasn't bringing the kids to the camps and stuff, they said shoes had got too expensive. And kids need good running shoes if they're gonna run. And so they started their own company to supply quality running shoes at a fixed price to where families can afford them, especially single parental homes where there are multiple children in multiple sports. And so they fix their price. They don't have all the bells and whistles. They don't have the sponsorships. They don't do the endorsement deals. They don't have thousands of colors and 10 million sizes and reps everywhere. But they're starting with the community. It's like I told somebody earlier, you have to start with your own heart. They say, why don't you charge a price? I said, because I'm not about money, I'm about people. Because if this world's going to ever get better, and unfortunately, I'm going to shock y'all, it's not. The world is never going to get better. People in the world will get better when you make a decision to vote in your own house, to consider your own heart. And once you do that, once that life and that love start, then you can start from your house to your community, to your city, to your state, to your country, to the world. The world ain't changing, but people can.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. If there's something that you can leave to people here today with, to remember you, not everything else has happened, but to remember you, what would that be?
Put me on the spot.
That's what we do.
But if there was one thing that I could say where people will remember me and all that I've said, I'm going to say it like I say it at the beginning of every race. Let's go!
We love that, love that, love that. Make some noise, ladies and gentlemen, for one and only Mr. Aaron Buros. Thank you, my man, thank you. I need to come up there and give you a hug. Hold on.
Work it, make it, do it. Makes us harder, better, faster, stronger. Rolling, power, power. Never, ever, after. Work it, over. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster. Makes us stronger.